Good morning and welcome to the CENTRALNIC Group PLC Annual General Meeting. Throughout this recorded presentation, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time by the Q&A tab situated in the right corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question submitted today. However, all questions will be reviewed with responses published on the Investor Meet Company platform. I'd now like to hand you over to Ian McDonald, Chairman. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Welcome to the annual general meeting of CENTRALNIC Group PLC. I am Ian McDonald, the chairman of CENTRALNIC Group PLC. It's now 10 a.m. As we have a quorum, I declare the meeting open. Before turning to the formal part of the meeting, I would like just to mention a few housekeeping points. We do not expect any fire alarm tests during this meeting. Please make sure that your phones are off or switched to silent mode. I'd like to remind you that we do not allow photographs to be taken or the meeting to be recorded or transmitted. I'm pleased to inform you that the meeting today is being live streamed so that shareholders and other stakeholders who cannot be present can view it in real time on the Investor Meet Company platform. The board invite those present to join them for refreshments following the conclusion of the meeting. I would now like to introduce the members of the board who are present on this call today. I'm Ian McDonald, non-executive chairman of the board. I also sit on the audit committee. Ben Crawford, CEO, who attends board committee meetings by invitation. Michael Riedel, CFO, who attends the audit committee by invitation. Thomas Rickett, non-executive director, who chairs on the audit committee and sits on the remuneration committee. Don Baladson, group managing director. The following directors: Samuel Diani, non-executive director, sits on the remuneration committee. Tom Pridmore, non-executive director, chair of the remuneration committee and also sits on the audit committee. Max Royd, non-executive director, who sits on the remuneration committee. Horst Siffrin, non-executive director, who sits on the audit committee, have been unable to attend the meeting today and have sent their apologies. Before the resolutions are formally put to the meeting, I would like to introduce Ben Crawford, our CEO, to present a review of the company's financial performance during the year. Ben?
Thank you, Ian. For those that are following with on the computer, they can actually see some slides accompanying this short presentation. So the highlight and headline for the year 2021 was that the company achieved a record 39% organic growth across our business and the online presence business, which is where we provide the basic tools for getting a company online, those tools being web addresses, websites, hosting and email on a subscription recurring revenue basis. Our growth was 9%. And for those who are looking at the bar charts, you can see that the orange adjustments are for acquisitions made during the course of the year. For our online marketing segment, where we sell tools for websites to acquire customers and generate revenues online on a utility style running contract basis, the growth was 35%. From $160 million the year prior to $263 million. This growth was a result of a number of factors, including a $10 million investment made in additional staff and systems over the course of 2020 and 2021. Obviously, a investment that paid off significantly with $116 million of additional organic revenue earned in 2021 following that investment. Whilst growth did accelerate during the period of COVID, as restrictions related to COVID were reduced, our growth actually accelerated. So clearly, it wasn't a COVID-driven growth spurt. What has given us a tailwind, though, were internet privacy measures. So there's both from regulators and from the large technology partners around GDPR and third-party cookies and so on, because our online marketing solutions are actually privacy-safe solutions, and we don't collect private information on end users or sell that information. There are a number of other operational highlights, chief among which was the recruitment of Carsten Schurup, our new Chief Technology and Product Officer, who started working for us at the end of last year. In terms of just running through the numbers now, gross revenue for the year 2021 was $410 million, with net revenue $118 million. Adjusted EBITDA for the year $46.3 million. Adjusted earnings per share 11.8 cents. Operating profit, which in previous years had actually been negative, was a positive $12.4 million, and our adjusted cash flow $56.3 million. So clearly well above 100% cash conversion there from our adjusted EBITDA. Moving on to our ESG initiatives, we have an extremely diverse workforce, and this has continued and is a clear policy of the company, reflected in all of our hiring, our interviewing, our promotions within the company. Inclusivity is at the very heart of our company's mission of making the internet everybody's domain. We have customers in almost every country in the world, and our model here is unlike some other tech companies that are either pushing Western culture all over the world or collecting private data and selling it. We're actually supplying the tools to people all over the world to build their own part of the internet and make the internet itself more inclusive. We originally announced that we were carbon neutral many years ago, back in, I believe, 2012, 2013. We then stopped being carbon neutral as we made a number of acquisitions of companies that weren't carbon neutral, but happily to say from 2020, we were able to announce we'd returned to being carbon neutral through a combination of controlling our carbon footprint and offsets, and we continue to be so in 2021. And then whilst there are many other ESG initiatives in the company, the last one I'll mention today is the CENTRALNIC fund, where we've now donated over 600,000 euros in grants to support initiatives around education, cybersecurity, accessibility to technology for the disabled, and other similar worthy causes. Happily, our share prices has performed well during the course of 2021 with a 62% upgrade in Q4 2021 compared to Q4 of the year prior. Lastly, in terms of new year and outlook, we've done a trading update on our first quarter, and you can see our organic growth rate has now risen to 51%. And our cash conversion continues to be excellent. Our net debt to EBITDA ratio, which was 2.5 times back at the beginning of 2020, now using the numbers in the market for EBITDA, is below 1 time. So lots of excellent progress as far as that's concerned, as well as having made 3 acquisitions already in the course of this year. With that, I will conclude and pass back to Ian. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. So with your permission, I'd like to proceed by dealing with all questions from shareholders on any matters relevant to the business at the meeting at the outset, before we move on to the voting on the resolutions themselves. This is because we have a number of resolutions, and in my view, we'll be able to deal with the voting more expeditiously in this manner, while still giving shareholders time to ask the questions they may wish to ask. Before asking your question, please give your name and state whether you're a shareholder, proxy, or corporate representative. If you're a proxy or corporate representative, please state your name and the name of the shareholder you're representing. I would now like to invite questions from the floor, so please do ask any questions you may have, although I think all of our questions are going to come in electronically. So I'll actually hand over to Ben, who can see those questions, and we'll read them out, and hopefully we can attempt to give you an answer.
Thank you, Ian. At this stage, we have no questions. So I'd say if anyone has any questions, please send it through now, or else we'll pass back to Ian to continue on to the resolutions. Okay, no questions have come up, so back to you, Ian.
Okay, so as there have been no questions asked, I would now like to start the formal proceedings of this annual general meeting. The notice of meeting, together with explanatory notes, was sent to shareholders on the 11th of April 2022 and has been published on the company website. Accordingly, the requisite notice of the meeting has been given. I propose, therefore, that with your consent, the notice of the meeting should be taken as read. Is that agreed? Thank you. In order to reflect all of the votes cast, including those submitted in advance online or via proxy, voting today will be done by way of a poll on each of the resolutions put to the meeting. Accordingly, in accordance with Article 17.1 of the Articles of Association of the company, I, as chairman of the meeting, demand that voting in respect of all the resolutions be taken as a poll. I can confirm that the company has received a report from its registrars detailing the total number of votes cast by members in respect of the resolutions proposed on a poll basis. I'm appointing James Johnson from Link, the company's registrar, to act as scrutineers. A summary of each resolution will be shown on the screen behind me before I put each resolution to the vote. When you registered before the meeting today, each shareholder, proxy, and corporate representative will have been issued with a poll card marked with their name. If there is anyone who thinks they should have a poll card but does not, please raise your hand and our registrars will attend to you. I should mention that for those shareholders who have already lodged a proxy, they do not, of course, need to complete a poll card unless they want to change their vote. You have three options for each resolution. You can vote for the proposed resolution, against the proposed resolution, or you may withhold your vote. A vote withheld is not a vote in law and will not be counted in the calculation of the proportion of votes for or against a resolution. Will you please complete your poll card by ticking the appropriate box next to the relevant resolution, depending on how you wish to cast your vote. Once all votes have been taken on the resolutions, please would you sign the poll card and put your completed poll card in one of the ballot boxes at the back of the room. Should you require any further assistance, our registrars will be happy to assist you. As it will take some time to complete the poll procedure, the final results of the voting, including the proxy votes on each of the resolutions, will be announced through our regulatory information service and published on our website as soon as reasonably practical. We will now proceed to vote on the resolutions which I will formally propose to the meeting. The full text of each of the resolutions is set out in the notice of the meeting, a copy of which you will have received. Resolutions 1 to 10 are proposed as ordinary resolutions and require a simple majority to be passed. Resolutions 11 and 12 are proposed as special resolutions, which, to be passed, require a majority of 75% to vote in favour of the resolution. Resolution to approve the annual report and accounts, Resolution 1. Resolution 1, thanks. The first resolution is to receive and adopt the audited accounts for the year ended 31st of December 2021, together with the reports of the directors and the auditors therein. I now propose that the annual report and accounts for the year ended 31st of December 2021 be received and adopted. As I explained, to vote, would you tick the appropriate box on your poll card to vote for the resolution or against the resolution, or you may withhold your vote. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. I now propose the resolution number 2 set out in the AGM notice, that the directors' remuneration report, as set out in the annual report and accounts for the financial year ended 31st December 2021 be approved. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. Resolutions 3 to 5 concern the re-election of Ian MacDonald, Thomas Rickett and Michael Riedel as directors. Each of them retires in accordance with the company's Articles of Association and, being eligible, offers themselves for re-election at this annual general meeting. The board is recommending that each of the directors be re-elected as a director. Each resolution will be put to the meeting separately. I now propose that Ian MacDonald be re-elected as director. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. I now propose that Thomas Rickett be re-elected as director. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. I now propose that Michael Riedel be re-elected as director. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. Resolutions 6 and 7 relate to the election of Max Royd and Horst Siffrin, who've been appointed by the board since the last annual general meeting. It is a requirement of the company's Articles of Association that all directors should be subject to election at the first annual general meeting following their appointment. Accordingly, each of them retires and, being eligible, offers themselves for re-election. The board is recommending that each of the directors be elected as a director. Each resolution will be put to the meeting separately. I now propose that Max Royd be elected as a director. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. I now propose that Horst Siffrin be elected as a director. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. The board is recommending that Crowe UK LLP be reappointed as auditors to the company until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. I propose, therefore, that Crowe UK LLP be reappointed as auditors and that the directors be authorised to fix their remuneration. Resolutions 8 and 9 deal with this. I now propose that Crowe UK LLP be reappointed as auditors. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. I now propose that the directors be authorised to fix the auditor's remuneration. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. We now come on to resolution 10, which relates to the authority to issue shares. Before the directors are able to issue shares, they must first be authorised by shareholders to do so. The authority will expire at next year's annual general meeting or on the date, which is 15 months after the passing of this resolution, whichever is earlier. The authority will relate to securities up to an aggregate nominal value of £96,220, which is equivalent to 96,220,000 ordinary shares. A more detailed explanation of this resolution is set out in the notice of the meeting. I propose that the directors be authorised to allot shares in accordance with the terms set out in the resolution. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. Resolution 11 will give the directors authority to allot shares for cash without first offering them to existing shareholders in proportion to their existing holding of shares, in keeping with market practice and institutional investor guidelines. The number of shares to which this proposed authority relates is limited to an aggregate nominal amount equal to 28,000 £866 is equivalent to 28,866,000 ordinary shares. The authority will expire at next year's annual general meeting or on the date which is 15 months after the passing of this resolution, whichever is the earlier. A more detailed explanation of this resolution is set out in the notice of the meeting. As this is a special resolution, a 75% majority will be required. I now propose that the directors be authorised to disapply the statutory preemption provisions in accordance with the resolution. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. We now come on to the final resolution. The purpose of this resolution is to authorise the company to purchase some of its own ordinary shares on such terms and in such manner as the directors may from time to time determined, and to hold such ordinary shares as treasury shares. The authority sought limits the maximum number of shares purchased to an aggregate nominal amount of £28,866, equivalent to 28,866,000 ordinary shares. The minimum and maximum prices that may be paid for the shares are set out in the resolution. I'd like to emphasise that the directors would only purchase shares if if they are satisfied that any such purchase is in the best interests of shareholders and could be reasonably expected to result in an increase in earnings per share. The authority will expire at next year's annual general meeting or on the 1st of July 2023, whichever is earlier. As this is a special resolution, a 75% majority will be required. I now propose that the company be authorised to purchase its own shares. Will you please vote now? I declare the poll closed. That concludes the business of this meeting. I thank you all for your interest and attendance and declare the meeting closed. The results of the meeting will be announced to the markets through our regulatory information service and posted on our website as soon as practicable.
Thank you very much for updating attendees today. Could I please ask attendees not to close the session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the board can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the board of CentralNic Group PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's annual general meeting and good morning to you all.